Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to show you how a shy misfit avenged everyone who did her wrong after growing up in a religious fundamentalist home while being surrounded by ruthless bullies at school. This is through a drama, horror film called Carrie. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A few years ago, in a small house, Margaret was screaming in pain, believing she had cancer, and pleaded for God's mercy. As she cries, her body contorts a few times, and she looks up, expecting to die. Margaret realizes something beneath her nightdress and discovers a baby between her legs. She was pregnant and didn't even recognize it. Margaret smiles and nods. It's a test, she says as she grabs a pair of scissors and prepares to murder her newborn daughter. However, at the last moment, she places the scissors down and cradles the infant. Clearly, there is something off with Margaret. The fact that she didn't know she's pregnant or maybe didn't acknowledge that she might be despite its apparent symptoms is a mere sign that someone is going through a hard time beyond just ignorance. Also, when Margaret realized she gave birth, her first instinct was to kill her own baby. Despite sticking to her maternal instincts, it's horrifying to think about what she could have done in her delusions. The way Margaret uttered prayers and asked Lord for guidance shows her religious side. But then, her impulse towards the infant also reveals a darker side. At the present day, the infant, Carrie, is now a teenage girl. She's shy, meek, and goes to a local high school in Castle Rock. Everyone considers her an outcast, so she blends into the background in the hopes of going unnoticed. During PE class, a ball lands in front of her, and Ms. Desjardins, the gym teacher, asks her to serve the ball. Everyone, including Carrie, laughs when she accidentally hits Sue in the head. However, Chris, Sue's friend, insults Carrie, prompting everyone to make fun of Carrie instead. After the class, Carrie is taking a shower when she notices blood. She rushes to the girls for assistance, unsure of what is going on. Carrie is having her first period. The girls, led by Chris, throw tampons at her and chant, "Plug it up." Chris even takes a video with her phone. Sue joins in but stops halfway, feeling embarrassed and guilty. Suddenly, Ms. Desjardins overhears them and slaps Carrie to keep her from screaming. The teacher orders everyone to leave, but the lights shatter as the girls head out. Sue is filled with regret as she looks at Carrie. At this point, Margaret's maternal shortcomings started to affect Carrie's life. Carrie was constantly singled out and mistreated by her classmates due to her mysterious and weird aura, which stems from her home. As an example, Carrie doesn't know what period is, which every mother prepares their daughters for. But to Carrie, having a period is out of her reality that she panicked, believing she's bleeding to death. Margaret arrives at school to get Carrie while Sue, Chris, and her boyfriend, Billy, hang out nearby. Chris plays the video of Carrie as the others watch it while Sue looks at Carrie with guilt. Later at home, Carrie finds her mother banging her head against the wall. Carrie stops her and talks to her about why she didn't inform her about the period. Margaret avoids the discussion and is more concerned with praying for forgiveness. She makes up Bible verses to suit Carrie's needs, which Carrie recognizes that these verses aren't even actual Bible verses. She objects to her mother's prayers, but Margaret hits her with a Bible. Margaret refers to her as a sinner, inviting Carrie to enter the prayer closet. Carrie refuses, so her mother pushes her inside, slamming the door behind and telling her to pray for forgiveness. Carrie begs to be let out by pounding on the door, and then, much to their surprise, a crack appears in the middle of the door. Carrie examines a sculpture of Jesus nailed to the cross that hangs on the wall. To her horror, it starts to bleed. Although the bleeding occurred only in Carrie's mind, it shows her traumatic experience in having a period and from her mother's questionable faith. Margaret avoided discussing the period because it symbolizes that Carrie has now turned into a woman and is capable of pregnancy, something Margaret believes is a sin she has committed when she had Carrie. It appears that her make-believe statements are more important than her daughter's welfare. Margaret suffers from untreated serious mental illness that made her devote her life to her religion. However, she's not even an ideal Christian herself. It appears that Margaret is punishing Carrie for her personal transgressions. Carrie suffers and grows up not knowing any better. However, as Carrie grows older, she begins seeing things differently and tries resisting and questioning her mother's methods. That night Sue and her boyfriend, Tommy, are having an intimate moment in Tommy's Jeep, but Sue's mind is elsewhere. Sue discusses her guilt over what happened to Carrie, to which Tommy claims he once beat up his bully, who had been tormenting him. He claims the guy deserved it and asks Sue if Carrie deserves it. Here, Sue shows empathy towards Carrie. When she realized that Carrie didn't know what was happening to her, she immediately stopped teasing. However, Sue is proud and thinks that an apology to Carrie is too much. Believing she has nothing to lose, Sue quickly drops this issue. To her, acknowledging that she made a mistake and feeling sorry is enough. The following day, Ms. Desjardins summons all the other girls who took part in shaming Carrie. The teacher tells them that what they did to Carrie was inappropriate and that they will be held accountable. For a week, they will make deadly sprints after school. Anyone who refuses to accept the punishment will not be allowed to attend the prom. Chris dismisses the punishment, claiming that Ms. Desjardins is incapable of carrying it out. Sue tries to persuade Chris to accept the punishment and move on, but she refuses. Ms. Desjardins promptly revokes her prom privileges. Chris attempts to convince the other girls to join her, but they refuse one by one, including Sue. She then screams and walks out as they continue to run. As you thought that bullying is the worst thing Chris can do, her yelling at her teacher proves she's capable of more. Chris is a spoiled brat who's lived her life always getting what she wants. When the girls refused to back her up, her ego took a big hit. Here, it shows her entitlement, which stems from her spoiled lifestyle. Later that scene, she even brought her influential dad into school, believing that her dad's reputation could patch her violations. With her dad's wealth, Chris thinks she can turn down anyone, and Ms. Desjardins is not an exception to that. When it turned the other way, her bratty personality displays again as she finds someone to blame for her actions. Everyone laughs at Carrie now that they've seen the video. Carrie feels humiliated as she walks down the hall, staring at graffiti about her across the lockers. She enters the bathroom, focuses her gaze on the mirror, and accidentally smashes it. She makes the pieces hover, but then a girl arrives, causing Carrie to grab her belongings and walk away. It is hard to forget a traumatic event when everyone around you constantly reminds you about it. The way people stare and whisper behind her back just made her feel insecure. No matter how hard she tries to look better, she ends up disappointing herself. But this time, it allows her to recognize her unique ability when she accidentally shattered the glass. Her focus has shifted to something good about herself, at least for now. Carrie then visits the library, searches the internet, and reads telekinesis books. She decides to test her strange ability after watching a video about it. In class, Carrie looks through the windows and sees a flag, making it move. She beams with pride at her accomplishment. Suddenly, Mr. Ullman calls Carrie to the front of the class and asks her to read a poem she enjoys. It's a bit bleak, but it's well written, and people seem to pay attention to her. The teacher is surprised she has spoken and asks if she has anything else to say after scaring the class. Tommy complains under his breath, and the teacher inquires about what he said. Tommy thinks the poem is fantastic, and he asks the teacher if he agrees. Carrie smiles shyly as she looks at Tommy. At the same time, Margaret is working at a laundry shop. Eleanor, Sue's mother, picks up Sue's prom gown. She tries to make amends for Sue's actions and compliments Margaret on her work. On the other hand, Margaret is discreetly cutting herself on the leg with a needle. Eleanor leaves as Margaret looks at her with disappointment. It shows Margaret as a timid and wary woman with an undercurrent of quiet menace that is just a tad too subtle. Initially, she would scratch, punch, pull out her own hair, or injure herself to coerce Carrie into agreeing with her and adhering to her ridiculous rules. But later on, she would inflict self-harm when she felt the need to punish herself. Here, Mrs. Snell was buying a red dress from her, which Margaret believes is the color of hell. Margaret also thinks that going to prom is a sin, and she contributed to that act of sin, so she cut herself as a punishment. That night, Carrie tests her ability by moving books around her room. She eventually causes several objects to float, including her bed. Margaret hears a noise, and as a mother who wants to protect her daughter, she investigates while holding a knife. When Margaret arrives in Carrie's room, Carrie tricks her by turning off the lights, pretending to sleep. Carrie causes the knife to stick on the floor and smiles as she finally knows how to control it and use it to her advantage. The following morning, Sue watches Tommy playing lacrosse and requests a favor to invite Carrie to the prom. Tommy is surprised and says he wants to take her instead, but Sue insists that she likes to make up for Carrie's humiliation. Tommy tries to persuade Sue, but she refuses and begs him to assist her in making things right. Here, Sue finally made a move that counts as an apology by giving up a perfect night with a perfect boyfriend she's been dreaming of since young. Sue was so prepared, and her gown was ready, but Chris made her realize that she's just pretending to care for Carrie, so Sue wanted to prove her wrong. Behind her mind, she truly feels sorry for Carrie but still denies her feelings in front of her friends except for Tommy. Sue doesn't want to be ostracized for fear of not fitting in. She was not obligated to befriend Carrie, but she was genuinely attempting to atone for her actions. Later that morning, Tommy rushes to Carrie at the canteen and starts talking to her, surprising her. Tommy inquires about prom and whether she would like to accompany him. Carrie walks away without saying anything. Tommy finds her and asks her again, but Carrie dismisses it as a joke, not believing him. Carrie is crying in the locker room when Ms. Desjardins notices her. The teacher believes that Chris and the girls are up to something, but Carrie claims Tommy invited her to prom. Ms. Desjardins senses something is wrong but remains unconcerned in front of her. Carrie claims she is aware that he is dating Sue and believes this is a big joke. However, Ms. Desjardins tells Carrie to give it a try. She then faces Carrie in the mirror and tells her that she sees a beautiful girl who can leave everyone speechless with the right dress and a little bit of makeup. Right from the start, Ms. Desjardins is the only one that isn't afraid to express her concerns towards Carrie. It appears that she could have been a better mother for Carrie as she constantly seeks Carrie's happiness and pushes her to get out of her zone. Ms. Desjardins motivates her to let Carrie see something good in herself and protects her whenever she's vulnerable. The teacher naturally cares for her students and doesn't see them as one of her jobs. Afterward, Ms. Desjardins warns Sue and Tommy, believing they are plotting something. Sue claims that they just want Carrie to have one good night and a chance to socialize, while Tommy claims that it doesn't matter because Carrie declined, but Sue encourages him to try again. Ms. Desjardins tries to persuade Tommy that having Carrie on his arm will make him look ridiculous, but Sue says this is a private matter, and they don't care how they look. That afternoon, Tommy arrives at Carrie's house and informs her that he will not leave until she accepts the prom invitation. Carrie says yes, but only if she can get home by 10:30 p.m. Tommy says he'll come to get her at 7 p.m. Carrie beams with excitement. Later that day, Carrie comes across a dress shop. When the excited girl enters, Carrie notices some fabric and is amazed by its potential. Chris and her friends see Carrie across the street, enraging Chris. Here, Chris was starting to feel like an outcast. She understands what it's like to be Carrie, who gradually becomes invisible to the school. But, unlike those who might find some empathy and humanity as a lesson, it made her more evil and determined to maintain her position at the top of the social hierarchy. She believed that being popular meant existing more than others, and that when someone she considers does not exist takes it from her, it is viewed as an insult. Chris has enlisted the help of her friends Tina, the twins Nikki and Lizzie, and Heather to plot revenge against Carrie. Carrie returns home that evening to find her furious mother waiting for her. Margaret immediately drags her inside while Carrie claims to buy fabric to make a gown for herself, informing her that someone invited her to prom. Feeling worried, Carrie explains that she understands how scared Margaret is, but she doesn't want her classmates to feel weird around her, believing prom will be her last chance to prove herself to everyone. Margaret screams at her, telling her to go to her closet and repent before it's too late, but Carrie asks why she can't be happy for her. On the other hand, Margaret has an episode, which causes Carrie to put the entire living room to drift. Margaret collapses to the ground in disbelief and begins to pray. Carrie tells her mother to get up, and when she doesn't, Carrie uses her supernatural abilities to raise her. Margaret calls Carrie a devil, but Carrie claims to have magical skills and claims that her grandmother may have had them and that they may have passed down through the generations to Carrie. Carrie tells her mother that she will attend the prom and that no one can stop her. When Carrie, in a respectful tone, tried to speculate about her abilities, Margaret's religious instincts proceeded. Clearly, Carrie doesn't want to be judged by her own mother. She doesn't have anyone to talk to about her powers and hopes her mother will guide her. However, Margaret sees her as evil, prompting Carrie to use her powers against her mother. It is sad to think that Carrie had to resort to violence just to be heard. From this, the tension between them started to escalate. At the same time, Chris, Billy, and their friends are at a pig farm. Billy brutally crushes a pig's head, and Chris, acting cool, collects the blood by slitting the throat. The next day, Carrie makes her prom gown as the event is coming. On the other hand, Chris and Billy infiltrate the gymnasium to fill a bucket with pig's blood. Billy tells Chris that she can drop it on Carrie, and Chris declares that she intends to. Finally, it's prom day, and students are getting ready and dressed for prom, while Carrie puts on her dress and applies some light makeup. Margaret tells her she has the appearance of a wicked person. Tired of her mother's overly religious quotes, Carrie requests that her mother be happy for her for once. Margaret claims that they will laugh at her, but Carrie tells her to stop and that Tommy is a lovely young man, and everything will be fine. Margaret reveals to her daughter that Carrie's father took advantage of her, and Carrie is born out of sin. Carrie finally loses her patience, choking her mother, then locks her inside the closet and promises to return. She then melts the door lock, preventing her mother from escaping. Although Margaret claims hurtful words towards Carrie, it shows that Margaret genuinely loves Carrie. She is, however, mentally ill, and this is how she expresses her love for her daughter because she genuinely believes it is the right thing to do. In an attempt to convince Carrie to stay, Margaret mentions Carrie's father. To Carrie, it is just another way of guilt-tripping her, just like how she hit her own head when Carrie ignores her. It appears that Margaret's pleas are unnecessary to Carrie as she is determined to go to prom whatever it takes. Finally, Carrie greets Tommy, who compliments her. They take a limo to prom. When they arrive, Carrie asks for a moment as she considers the other students' reactions. Tommy assures her that, despite her fears, they aren't all bad. After calming her down, they enter the gymnasium, and Tommy introduces her to his best friend, George, and his girlfriend, Erica, who attends a different school. Erica compliments Carrie's gown, pleasantly surprised to learn that Carrie made it herself. When Carrie sees Tommy, everything suddenly becomes so calm and subtle. Carrie followed Ms. Desjardins' advice to fix her appearance a little, and it changed her whole aura. Tommy is pleased by her transformation, and his gentle approach to Carrie is enough for her to feel comfortable. To Carrie, never in her life she imagined going to the prom with the most popular guy at the school. When Erica complimented her, she finally felt the belongingness she's been longing for a long time. That night, Carrie starts to relax. Tommy then asks if she wants to dance, but they agree to wait until a slow song appears. Ms. Desjardins notices Carrie and compliments her. While they converse, Tommy texts Sue to let her know that everything is fine, that Carrie is having a good time, and that he misses her. Sue smiles pleased that she is correcting the situation. When a slow song starts playing, Tommy persuades Carrie to dance with him. He shows her how to slow dance, and she picks it up quickly. Still unsure of his motives, she inquires as to why he invited her to prom, to which Tommy responds that he wanted to and is enjoying himself with her, and he hopes she feels the same way. Carrie agrees with a nod. Tommy then says they'll have a good time here, then go to an after party, and she'll be back home on time. Carrie agrees and adds that she might be able to stay out later. It shows that Carrie surrendered herself to enjoy the night and just be happy to the point that she didn't care if she goes home late. For the first time in her life, Carrie experiences being treated ordinarily, and she's very grateful for Tommy. Like Carrie, Tommy truly enjoyed the night with her, delighted that he made Carrie and Sue happy. However, Tommy attempted to kiss Carrie in a deleted scene, but it was removed to portray Tommy as a loyal, handsome guy to his girlfriend. Meanwhile, the voting for prom king and queen starts. Billy and Chris sneak into the prom and wait in the rafters with help from Tina. They give Tina's date, Greg, the ballots, and he switches them, so Carrie and Tommy win the prom king and queen election. At the same time, Sue gets out of the shower when Chris texts her, saying Carrie is looking pretty, but she won't be for long. Sue's face flushes with horror as she realizes Chris is planning something heinous to humiliate Carrie, so she rushes to prom to intervene. For a moment, Chris appears to be second-guessing herself. However, Billy reminds her that they are committing criminal assault and that they must flee as soon as possible or else he will kill Chris. Here, Chris shows that she isn't afraid to do what she wants, which is to corrupt Carrie. With his equally sociopath boyfriend, Chris lacks human compassion. Billy turned out to be dangerous as he even threatened to murder Chris, her girlfriend, if their plan didn't work out. It appears that they stay together just for fun and to maintain their cool kids reputation. And to them, Carrie is the most vulnerable one. Finally, at the moment of truth, the committee finishes tallying the ballot results. As expected, Tommy and Carrie come out on top. Carrie is scared to go on stage at first but also feels delighted. Everyone applauds as they approach the podium. Carrie, who has finally gotten her moment in the spotlight, pleases everyone, including Ms. Desjardins, Mr. Ullman, and Principal Grail. Just as Carrie thought that the night was over, more and more surprises await her. Attending prom is beyond her wildest dreams, but being crowned as prom queen is overwhelming to Carrie. Everyone, including her bullies, and even Mr. Ullman, who embarrassed Carrie in their class, seem delighted for her. Carrie finally fulfills all the respect and attention she lost before as she goes on the stage with a brimming smile. Meanwhile, Sue arrives at the building and sneaks in after seeing someone open the door. She scans the room and notices Chris in the rafters. Sue appears to be staring at Chris, who pauses for a moment, but Billy encourages her to pull the rope. Ms. Desjardins, who misinterprets Sue's reasons for being there, kicks her out of the building, disregarding her warning. While Carrie and Tommy cherish their moment on the stage, Chris pulls the rope, allowing the pig's blood to cascade down onto Carrie. There is complete silence until Tommy screams at everyone, claiming that he had no part in this heinous act of cruelty, and he didn't want to be a part of it. Chris has hacked the video monitors and displays Carrie's period clip. Most of the class laughs. However, Ms. Desjardins and a few others are stunned. Ms. Desjardins approaches Carrie, but Carrie uses her powers to push her away, surprising everyone. When Carrie finally gets a decent reputation, Chris tainted it red. For a few seconds, Carrie tasted heaven only to be pulled back into reality and making it her worst nightmare. Abuse can take two forms: it can be transformed to help others, or it can be used to harm them. To Carrie, who feels betrayed and played, she can only think of one thing: revenge. Chris and Billy start fleeing, but Chris insists on staying to watch Carrie squirm. However, the rope gives way, and the blood bucket hits Tommy in the back of the head, killing him instantly. Carrie turns around to cradle his head in her lap, heartbroken that the only guy who has ever treated her with kindness died. Carrie notices Billy's sunglasses in the rafters and recognizes them, knowing who to blame. The splotches of blood on her body begin to levitate, and she turns to the guests. A few people see this and attempt to flee, but it's useless. Carrie finally loses control and violently pushes the entire crowd back, causing tables and people to crash. She then locks all the gym doors, preventing anyone from leaving. One of the girls is thrown across the room, and her head hits a door. Greg, Tina's date, and a few other guys attempt to flee by climbing the bleachers, but Carrie collapses them, smashing Greg to death. As a guy films her, she throws a table at him, killing him on impact. The raging Carrie then activates the sprinklers, drenching the entire room. When she notices Nikki and Lizzie attempting to flee, she pushes them to the ground, where the fleeing mob tramples them to death. A light fixture falls behind Carrie's ceiling on stage, causing a fire on the spotlight and exposing several live electrical cables. People don't always know who they're pushing around. If they could only realize how dangerous Carrie could be, they would back down and leave her alone. With Carrie's hidden abilities, she gave them all a taste of their own medicine in a dose filled with vengeance and rage. She vented all her inner anguish and frustrations towards her classmates only because they pushed her to do so. Still, Carrie was just a teenager who wanted to feel normal, just like them. Suddenly Carrie focuses her attention on Tina, who attempts to escape, throwing a burning decoration at her, but it misses. Carrie then tortures Tina with the live electrical cables, driving her into flames. Within seconds, the flames have engulfed the dress, burning Tina. Ms. Desjardins tries to calm Carrie down as flames engulf the room. Still, Carrie chokes her and pulls her up, holding her for a moment above the electrified floor caused by the electrical cables coming in contact with the water. However, her senses return, and she spares Ms. Desjardins, dragging her across the stage. Ms. Desjardins and the few surviving students watch in terror as Carrie levitates herself out of the building. Despite threatening everyone's out, Carrie focuses on those bullies who poked fun at her. She painted the gymnasium with the blood but still saved Ms. Desjardins out of her remaining kindness. However, Carrie is not satisfied as the head of the pack isn't there inside. Her uncontrollable rage harms her other classmates. Whether they deserve that fate or not, the answer appears to be what Carrie decides. The entire gymnasium is now in flames. While some people manage to flee, the majority do not. Carrie sees Chris and Billy's car, and her rage resurfaces. Chris asks Billy about what they should do now that their prank has resulted in at least a dozen deaths. Billy informs her that they will leave town and never return. Chris reluctantly agrees. On the other hand, Carrie is following them as they drive away. She stomps on the ground, causing Billy to reverse the car and speed back. Chris sees Carrie, and, despite everything, she orders Billy to hit her. However, Carrie is waiting for him and uses her power to bring the car to a halt, causing Billy to collide with the steering wheel, breaking his nose and causing his head to snap back, killing him instantly. Chris awakens to find Billy dead. She sees Carrie and backs up the car, determined to kill her. Carrie pulls the car's wheels up high in the air and then throws it into a gas station. Chris's face goes through the windshield due to the force of impact, leaving shards of glass all over her face. Carrie stands there watching Chris take her final breath. Carrie causes a power pole to spark, causing an explosion that ensures Billy and Chris's deaths. Later that night, the bloody Carrie heads home and discovers that her mother managed to escape from the closet by forcing a hole through the crack in the door. Carrie attempts to contact her but receives no response. Her mother has retreated into the shadows. Despite their conflicts, Carrie still looked for her mother when she came back to her senses. Carrie is so terrified of herself as if she didn't mean what she has done. It only sinks into her now that it's over, and Carrie realizes the repercussions of what she did. Still, just like everyone, Carrie protects herself whenever she feels jeopardized. Carrie went home, hoping that at the end of the day, her mother would understand her. Carrie cleans up the blood in the bathtub before changing into a blue nightgown. She locates Margaret and informs her that she was correct in every way. Margaret comforts her and says that she should have killed her when she was an infant, but she was so weak to do that and that she loves Carrie so much. Margaret also reveals that she liked it when she conceived Carrie, then she suggests praying after they hug. However, as they pray, Margaret takes her butcher knife and stabs Carrie in the back. Carrie then pushes her mother, causing herself to fall down the stairs. She begs her mother to stop what she's doing, but her mother continues as she slashes Carrie's leg and arm. When she tries to stab her daughter, Carrie uses her powers to stop the blade and then summons a slew of sharp objects, which she points at her mother. Carrie apologizes and then lets them fly, impaling her mother to the wall, crucifying her. Although Margaret made her safe even just for seconds, she revealed another fact that made Carrie question her life. The truth that Margaret went against her own beliefs doesn't just make her a hypocrite, but also a senseless person who's just making herself appear perfect. When Margaret attempted to kill Carrie, her action was no different from what Chris did. It hurts for Carrie to know that the one who should protect her during the critical time of her life turned out to be the one who wanted her dead. Carrie defended herself once again in a way she didn't want to, but she had to. Carrie, horrified by what she has done, pulls the blades pinning her mother from the wall. Margaret passes away in Carrie's arms a few moments later. Carrie sobs as she realizes her loss. Meanwhile, Sue arrives at the house, and Carrie seems scared, accusing herself of murdering her mother. As the house starts to drop due to Carrie's uncontrollable powers, Sue apologizes to her and reaches out to Carrie's hand in the hopes of escaping with her. Sue's stomach is near Carrie's hand, and Carrie senses a pulsating heartbeat and confirms that the baby is a girl. Sue pauses and looks at her in disbelief. Carrie then shoves her out the door, leaving Sue outside, watching as rocks appear out of nowhere, slamming into the house. Carrie cradles her mother and kisses her on the forehead as the house collapses around them. Sue stands there, terrified, and carefully touches her stomach. Following her court testimony regarding the prom incident, Sue visits the cemetery, where Margaret and Carrie are buried together in a common grave. On the gravestone, someone spray-painted Carrie white burns in hell with an arrow pointing down. Sue leaves after placing a white rose on the grave. Sue finally dared to apologize personally to Carrie. All this time, she was finding ways to make it up to Carrie, but what truly comforted her is when Carrie accepted her apology. However, it's too late, for what Sue has witnessed was just too much for her already. In the end, Sue is left alone, feeling guilty and regretful as she believed that the incident could have been prevented. When Sue went away, Carrie's tombstone cracked, which indicates that Carrie may have survived. In an alternate ending, while Sue gives birth, a bloody hand appears between her legs, grabbing her stomach. It turns out that Sue is frequently having nightmares of what happened, causing her trauma. Sue screams and then sees a blood-soaked Carrie cradling her baby for a split second. She cries as her mother comforts her in bed. This alternative ending shows that Carrie is still haunting Sue. This ending contrasts sharply with the rest of the film since it appears to scar the bond formed between Sue and Carrie by ending on a fearful note. Since she's having nightmares and hallucinations concerning her baby, this could lead Sue to hate or resent her baby once it's born. Similar to how Margaret hated Carrie and ended up abusing her. The alternate ending showed that her trauma could pass over to her child, a much bleaker ending compared to the theatrical one. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.